Tonight on Joy News Prime, Ghana needs 38,000 nurses to bridge the gap in the health sector, while government agrees to deploy nurses to Barbados. The Ghana Registered Nurses Association and the coalition of NGOs in health are on the opposite ends of this pact. We'll hear from them.
We have a surplus of nurses. Replacing them all in our public health system is one of my headaches, because there's been a lot who have been produced, and for several years I've not been able to do anything with it. So I'm going back. I'll be back in Accra on Monday. The week after, the Prime Minister will hear from me.
Also, close season for artisanal fishermen ends. Fishermen in Jamestown believe the season did not yield the desired results. But the fishermen in the Central Region say it's too early for anyone to conclude on the impact of the temporary ban.
It's too early for anybody to rejoice that we've had an impact with the close season. Even when we don't go for fishing on Tuesdays, the following Wednesday, we get some good catch.
Chased by snakes in the search for water, the story of the Central Regional Community of Bosompa, where the only sources of water for residents are unclean puddles in the bush.
One afternoon on my way to fetch water here, I saw a snake, so I returned home. I was very frightened.
And in business, coming up in business, President of African Development Bank challenges IMF's classification that Ghana and some African countries are high risk of debt distress. And later in the bulletin, we'll bring you the latest updates on the National Science and Maths quiz. I'm Araba Kumsin, and Joy News Prime comes to you live from the Joy News studio at Kokomimle here in Accra with digital address GA 0992539. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying with us. Now, the Nima Divisional Police Command is holding a 42-year-old Nigerian man who was arrested by residents of Mamobi, a suburb of Accra, for allegedly attempting to steal a 4-year-old boy. The suspect was caught by residents last Sunday who claim, but for their vigilance, the child would have been part of the country's child theft statistics. Joy News' Matilda Vemega visited the community and has come through with this report.
Catch me, and she's going with me.
4-year-old Abdulrahman recounts his experience with a stranger on Sunday morning.
She have catch me, and she's going with me.
Who is that person? Do you know him?
No.
So what did he tell you?
She told me that coming, let's go.
And what did you tell him?
And then after she's running and she's chasing me.
And he was chasing you. Where was he pulling you to?
She wants to catch me.
He wants to catch you. That's the only memory he has of what relatives and residents describe as an attempted child stealing. According to some residents, Abdul Rahman was seen in the company of the suspect at about 7 a.m. on Sunday.
We all ran and followed and see what is happening. So when we were running, most of them were saying that, oh, this a guy came to, picked the child. Okay. So we followed him. Later we heard that, oh, the guy ran away.
A resident who says he observed the boy being lured into a black Corolla vehicle parked a few meters from the boy's home, approached them and raised alarm.
I noticed the suspect was trying to lure the boy with his mobile phone. I suspected something was wrong, so I asked if the suspect was related to the boy. I was told he did not know the boy, so I raised the alarm, and he was trying to steal the boy. When I called him a thief, he also called me a thief in return, and that confused many people around. They actually wanted to beat me up, but they realized he was rather the thief.
According to the residents, the suspect, upon sensing danger, fled and hid in one of the homes in the neighborhood. The suspect entered this house, took a seat here. I'm told this is where he sat. He hid himself right behind the bathroom. And when he came here, he picked a shirt from the drying line, changed from the clothes he was wearing before he entered the house.
So we were struggling. They don't want to leave the guy to us. So we were struggling. And automatically, they give him to her. Then the people started to kill him, but we protect because he told us that they were 4. And they brought one Toyota also, black car. So 3 of them are inside the car. But we didn't listen to the guy.
Okay. They were beating him. Okay. By the time they realized the car had left.
The car has left. Okay. That's why we are all protect the guy so that we can get evidence.
It took the intervention of some residents to rescue the suspect from the angry mob who had badly assaulted him.
They wanted to kill the person. Actually, in fact, it's almost about end of his life. So I tried to talk to the mob people or the area people that they should stop doing that so that we can get more information on this matter.
So what did you gather from the man after you rescued him?
Well, what he told me is that he's a Nigerian and they came here early in the morning. They first went to Nima, but they couldn't succeed and they rushed to this area and he was trying to kidnap that 4-year boy, but very unfortunate he couldn't succeed.
He was later handed over to the Kutubabi police for interrogation. For JoyNews, Matilda Pamagan, Mamobi, Accra.
Meanwhile, the Nima Divisional Police Command has taken over the case from the Kutubabi police where the suspect was originally in custody. The police say the suspect has denied knowledge of the attempted child theft. Divisional Commander ACP Ibrahim Akwe says the Nigerian suspect has been dodgy with information, but added investigations have begun to unravel the truth.
Investigations are still under. We want to visit the local scene code, that the scene of the incident, the scene of the crime, to ascertain, because they have mentioned the cocoa cellar, they have mentioned a few other places. So we have detailed our investigators. So we want to get to the bottom of the issue to know who is telling us the truth. He has denied knowledge of the car. He said he doesn't know he was there alone. According to him, he even lives around. So there was no way he had any connection with any parked vehicle. He even has denied any knowledge. He said he doesn't even know any boy. He didn't even see any boy. So as I speak, that is what he wants us to believe. When the suspect was brought, he was in a very critical condition. In a very critical condition, I think they gave him some small lesson of his life to serve as a form of deterrent to others who are indulging, because the allegation was a kidnapper. You know, it's now a social menace that is actually consuming the very fiber of our existence. So people didn't take lightly to it, and they gave him some beating. So he was very critically sick or injured. Yes, so yes, they had to rush him to the hospital, stand by him, so that should he decide to even get well and run away, it would be impossible for him.
Matilda Wemega, with that earlier report, and you heard the Nima Divisional Police Commander. Now, Ghana and the Caribbean country of Barbados have signed a pact for the deployment of nurses to work in that country. President Akufo-Addo and the Barbados Prime Minister, Mia Motley, committed to the deal during a visit by the president. Under the deal, Ghana will deploy 375 nurses to work in some health facilities in Barbados, formerly known as Little Ghana. At a joint news conference in Barbados, the two leaders also pledged to collaborate in other areas.
Fortunately, the discussions that took place today have been very, very productive and very fruitful. We have found it possible that in education, in health, economic intercourse, cultural exchanges, and a broad range of activities involving the cooperation between your university and the universities in Ghana have given us many, many possible avenues of progress and development and joint development. It's very, very important that once the visit is over and we go back, the momentum that is meant to be created out of this visit is maintained. And it can only be maintained if the various things that we agree that we're going to do, supply of nurses, this, that, and the others, all of them, we actually do them. That is what, therefore, will make meaningful today's meeting and exchange. We have a surplus of nurses. Placing them all in our public health system is one of my headaches, because there's been a lot who have been produced, and for several years have not been able to do anything with it. So I'm going back. I'll be back in Accra on Monday. The week after, the Prime Minister will hear from me on this matter of the nurses.
And I want to thank you. We've indicated that we are searching for just under 400 nurses, so it's not a small number. And we really do believe that this is a wonderful opportunity of cooperation between our two countries. I want to thank you for doing us the signal honor of being the first president of Ghana to visit Barbados.
Well, the Ghana Registered Nurses Association is asking government to critically examine the nurse to patient ratio in the country. They are of the view government's move will lead to a shift in its policy on improving healthcare delivery in the country. We have the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association, Kweku Asante-Krobia, with us in the studio, and Bright Emi Sanyako, the vice chairman, Coalition of NGOs in Health, is joining in via phone. Let's start with you, Mr. Asante-Krobia. This move has been welcomed by many, but your association is kicking against it. Is it the case that we don't have enough nurses to export?
Well, it's not exactly the case that the association is kicking against it. You know, it is an international corporation, and anything that has to do with the employment of nurses and midwives in this country, the association welcomes. And so we're not saying that the president didn't sign a good agreement or has decided to sign a good agreement. It is good. We are just we just want to implore government to rather look at the larger picture. Here is a situation where he wants to help Barbados scale up the numbers with the employment of nurses in that country. Let me first say that there is an international shortage of nurses. Yes, globally, there's a global shortage of nurses at this point in time.
Why is that the case?
Well, it is the case because, you know,
many people are not going to the nursing profession.
Many people are going to the nursing. It's a difficult job. You need to have the passion for it.
So it's not attractive for many people these days.
In the developed countries, it's been observed that not many people like it because of the pressure they endure and the self-deprecating nature of the profession. And so is the case. Actually, here in Ghana, perhaps I'll say it is because many people are going in because it offers a ready employment for midwife. But there's even a shift of this enthusiasm because, you know, over the years it's been difficult for them to earn job. And that is why, as we speak, we have almost 20,000 nurses who have completed various training programs, and they are sitting at home unemployed.
20,000 nurses,
almost 20,000
graduates, sitting at home unemployed. Well, there's this, and so this is what some argue, that this is a good move by the president. They're sitting at home, you know, some may say they are a burden on their families and their caretakers. Why don't we ship them out where they can get some money for their services?
Well, with the Barbados arrangement, if it is meant to create a gap for employment, then it means that it is just a scratch at the surface, because you're talking about 370 or 375, and so it means that as you move this number away, it is only about 300 to 400 you'll be able to employ. And that's why I'm saying that it is important for us to look at the larger picture. This is an opportunity for the association.
So paint the larger picture for us. What is the larger picture we should be looking at?
The picture is that there's global shortage of nurses, and Barbados has indicated their own. We don't have to rubbish our own in Ghana. You will think that Ghana has more than enough. Ghana doesn't have more than enough, because practicing nurses and midwives in this country are few. We are grappling with the problem of a nurse-patient ratio of 1:28.
1:28. I was coming to that. But you say that Ghana doesn't have enough. But just a while ago, you said that we have about 20,000 graduate nurses sitting at home without employment. So when you say they are not enough, I don't quite understand.
I am giving you the technical definition of shortage of nurses.
Sure.
It is about those who are practicing at any point in time as against the number of people they have to see in the clinics and the hospitals.
So you say it's 1:28.
It is 1:28 now. You see, the difference between the shortage of nurses in Ghana and the shortage of nurses in Barbados is that in the case of Barbados, didn't have them. In Ghana, we have them, but we're having difficulty employing them. So even though about 20,000 are there, trained from both private and public sector health training institutions. And so once they are not in job, and we have fewer hands up from the nurses and midwives, it means that we also have a shortage.
All right, I'll come back to you because the NGOs in health disagrees with your position. Mr. Misanyako, why should we prioritize sending out our healthcare professionals elsewhere when we don't have enough to cater for Ghanaians? Okay, I understand that we've lost Mr. Misa. We'll bring him back on the line later. But do you not think that there are any benefits to be derived from this pact at all?
Yeah, I have already indicated that there is. So where come the idea that nurses are going to be, in quote, exploited?
What are the specific benefits
the specific benefit is that first, I've indicated it is an international corporation, and Ghana going to the world map in this position is good for us. And it's also going to create a space for the unemployed, some of the unemployed nurses to be roped in. Because once about 300 to 400 go away, it means an opportunity for us to employ, at the same number.
So the employment issue is quite critical. Okay, hold on to that thought. I'll come back to you. The NGOs in health, as I said earlier, disagree with this position by the Registered Nurses Association. Mr. Misanyako, who's with that coalition, joins us on the line. Mr. Misanyako, why should we prioritize sending our healthcare professionals elsewhere when we don't have enough to cater for Ghanaians?
Good evening to your challenge viewers. It is a good move by the president. It is a very good move by the president to prioritize and sending some nurses to Barbados for employment. Like he rightly said in the studio, Ghana has in excess of over 20,000 nurses who need employment to cater for their family and then the other people around them, their relatives around them. And if we have in excess of this number who are just seated and are not getting employment to feed their family, to us, it's a good move that the president gets a job elsewhere for these people so they could fend for themselves and their families. If you look at our hospital setting, we need the paramedics and the medical. But in reality, it is only the emergency and then accident centers units, the maternity, and then probably the pediatric and the pharmacy that are very busy. If we say the hospital setting is running about 24 hours, then it is these units, the accident and emergency centers, the maternity, and probably the pediatric or the pharmacy. Now, what category of staff or nurses are in these units? We need a nurse, and then the other healthcare or ward assistants, and then the orderlies, and then other people. So do we have enough in these places where they do the 24 hours? It's just Ghana's purpose. Now, the rest of the nurses, apart from OPD in the working day, you see that in the evening you go to the facilities, male ward, female ward, and other places. And even 2 or 3 nurses there are not getting much to do. So our government cannot employ more to the facilities. Therefore, it has to hold on to these people for quite a long time. Therefore, if the same government has sought employment for these people at different places, then we think it's a good move by the government. However, it should be recommended that an interministerial engagement is done to come out with it.
All right, unfortunately, the line there is not too clear. We'll get back to Mr. Misanyako. But you heard the point he was making. It's surely a good case to make if the nurses are going to be employed rather than stay at home and be burdens on their families, like I indicated earlier. No?
Matilda, I've made the same points.
Yes.
I've made the same points that it's good that we look at finding a way to send out nurses because we have a good number of them without employment here at home.
Right.
But the larger picture, I said we should look at in respect of making sure that back home here we also have enough of them.
But you already indicated that we have about 20,000, you know, sitting at home, graduate nurses who've graduated but haven't been employed yet. If we're sending out less than 400, how is that going to adversely affect our healthcare delivery?
Well, I haven't made the point that it's going to affect our healthcare delivery. Already, the shortage of nurses in the technical terms that I defined is affecting healthcare delivery. So already we have a problem that makes a thing that it is very difficult to have to provide quality nursing and medical care services to the people of Ghana if you have fewer hands. That alone is a challenge. And that is why I believe that the 20,000 nurses out there all have to come in. We put out recently during the launch of International Nurses Day in Sunyani that Ghana will require not less than 48,000 nurses to bridge the gap of nurse-patient ratio considerably. And so that's it. Even with that, 20,000 that we have there cannot meet the requirements. But if we settle, once we settle into this discussion of the President's initiative, I'm saying that it's a good one, but we look at the larger picture by making sure that we will see this as an opportunity to call on the President to, as he intends to help Barbados, to help his own country.
All right, we'll come to that. Hold that thought for me. But we have back on the line the Vice President of the Coalition of NGOs in Health. He's back on the line. Mr. Misanyako, thank you for your time once again. Let's discuss this issue about prioritizing our own. Mr. Asante-Korobia believes that we need to prioritize, you know, healthcare for Ghanaians before looking outside. He says that, you know, the ratio of nurses to patients is 1:28. So there's definitely that deficit there. Why shouldn't we prioritize our own? Why are we looking elsewhere?
Yes, it's always necessary to prioritize our own, but that notwithstanding, we cannot also keep people's relatives go hungry, and then also keep a larger number of the family not being able to feed on their own. So it makes sense to prioritize our own by adding other systems, like other support groups. And I believe, like I was saying earlier, there are other support staff, like the orderly, and then the other healthcare support staff, and then the ward assistants, who are providing services or support to the nurses available now.
I see. Now, Mr. Asante-Korobia doesn't appear to, you know, agree with you. You're shaking your head. You disagree?
I do disagree, because if you're talking about nursing and medical service, it must be professional. On the international scene, we consider very appropriate when we have the 70% of nurse midwife professionals as against 30% of the auxiliaries, that is the nurse assistants. Over the world, that is what we are looking at. In fact, the WHO approves that, and the International Council of Nurses also approves that. But here in Ghana, it is rather converse. We have too many of the auxiliary nurses and all the assistants, and we have just about a little less than 30% of the professionals. And doesn't make it right that the expected quality nursing and military care services we will be able to deliver to our clients.
Right. Let me give the last word to Mr. Kunyako. What benefits, in your view, will this move bring to Ghana, besides the obvious benefits that individuals who are sent there will gain?
The benefits, in as much as we are looking at quality, yes, I agree with that. But in the sense that people would, outside the globally, also need such help. And Ghana is having in excess of those people sitting without doing anything, and also not being catered for by government doesn't become realistic for others to take in Ghana, not being fed or catered for by anybody, whilst they could migrate them to other places to also get jobs, be able to feed their family, and also support government in some way. So in as much as our country, our government cannot employ this number of nurses we are producing year after year, then it becomes very necessary that if we finding a means for them somewhere, which is a global need as well, then in fact for now, to me it is a very good move by President to say, for this number of nurses who are sitting and doing nothing, I'm giving them out and gain something out of that. In the coming years, they are going to produce other nurses, which government might probably have now the need to put them in the various places that require a lot of their services. But currently, if Ghana cannot employ them, then they cannot continue to stay. They have to go to other places where their services are needed. Otherwise, they may end up even losing their skill or losing the knowledge that they acquired. So it's better they get employed and practice rather than staying and losing all these. They pay so much money to get.
I have to thank you for your time, Mr. Brighter Emisa Nyako. He's a vice chairman of the coalition of NGOs in health, and with me in the studio was Kweku Krobia Asante Krobia, beg your pardon. He speaks for nurses in this country. Thank you very much for your time. You're still watching Joy News Prime with me, Arba Kumson. Still to come, close season for artisanal fishermen ends. Fishermen in Jamestown believe the season did not yield the desired results. But fishermen in the central region say it's too early for anyone to conclude on the impact of the temporary ban.
Too early for anybody to rejoice that we've had an impact with the close season. Even when we don't go for fishing on Tuesdays, the following Wednesday, we get some good catch.
You're welcome back. Now, fishermen at Jamestown here in Accra have been lamenting over what they describe as bad catch after the ban on artisanal fishing was lifted last week. The Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture last month placed a 1-month ban to salvage the country's depleting fish stock. But today, fishermen in Jamestown believe the close season did not yield the targeted objective. JoyNews' Henry Kwesi Bedu visited the fishing community. Here is his report.
Jamestown, 3 days after the close season on artisanal fishing was lifted. The expectation of fisherfolk had been high. But they say since Sunday, the catch has been disappointing.
We have run at a loss. We are yet to witness positive results from the ban. We bought fuel for fishing but got very little catch. This is a great loss. We are yet to witness positive results from the ban.
Since Sunday, our catch has not been impressive. The industrial trawlers are also contributing to the massive depletion of the fish stock.
First now will be natural. I mean, my Sunum Bella says, I never nobody can call there and what about Tiana, I had been there.
The catch has been bad.
Another one we'll
resist further planned ban by the government and the ministry.
The same trouble to and again,
David Ejari said he was hopeful of a bumper catch, but that hope has faded.
The lifting of the ban has not yielded any results for us. I am currently trying to sort out rubbish that were trapped in my net. We are still not having a good catch. The ban has really had negative impact on our livelihoods. The next time government wants to try something like this, we'll resist unless they put measures in place to help us during the ban. The government must also stop their trawlers so we can get a bumper harvest.
Patrick Godfred Kofi has been fishing for about 30 years. Although he also experienced small catch over the weekend, he is optimistic of a bigger catch in the future.
Though we didn't get enough as of that we got on Saturday, but we have been experienced because it's our work.
Meanwhile, in the central region, some fishermen say it's too early for anyone to conclude that the close season has had any impact. According to them, the fundamentals for the close season were weak, and their complaints about the ministry allowing the industrial trawlers to continue fishing while they were on break defeats the purpose for the close season. They've been speaking with Richard Kujunyako.
It's been good on the first day. We thank God the season has been open. At least today we've got some good catch. We pray it continues. Some of the fishermen that went to sea got some good catch. We are yet to see the kind of fish that we need to see that will prove to us that indeed we have had an impact. But the fisheries minister has come to warn us with some soldiers against the use of our nets, but has failed to provide us with the required nets. That's the sad aspect of it.
Now, everyone needs water, but in the central regional town of Bosompa, access to this is a big struggle. Residents depend on puddles in the snake-infested bushes around the village to get water. As part of the JoyNews Safe Water Project, our reporter Beryl Ernestina Richter went to Bosompa in the Algona West municipality and has filed this report.
We are not respected and regarded as Ghanaians. Are we not part of Ghana?
That was Eja Kobinata, a resident of Bosompa, frustrated over the water situation. He is just one of many residents here confronted with the reality of having to walk a long distance navigating this small path overtaken by weeds. The only source of water here is this puddle. Falling leaves, twigs and debris cover the surface of the water. Even worse is the pathway to the stream. 12-year-old Bushira Tu speaks about the dangerous journey to the water source.
One
afternoon on my way to fetch water here, I saw a snake, so I returned home. I was very frightened. The only potable source of water in the community is an uncompleted water system, and the only other alternative is this water source, which dries up during the dry season. Chief of Bosompa, Nana Aye II, says the situation is dire.
In 1993, one NGO constructed a borehole for us, and that provided some relief for us for about 5 years, so it broke down. We were later asked to purchase the spare parts, so we raised the money, only to be told the items are not sold here. Since then, we've had to resort to this paddle.
Joseph Bosompa has been living in this community for the past 70 years. According to him, It is sometimes a fierce struggle accessing this pool of water.
During the dry season, it is very difficult getting water to fetch here. You will have to come and wait here for several hours, else you won't get water.
Residents here are not pleased with the situation at all. Here is 70-year-old Joseph Bosompa, again lamenting failed promises by successive government in providing a lasting solution to the problem.
All successive governments have failed us. We are even scared to sometimes send our children here. The water is not safe. We plead with government to fix the problem.
Ensuring universal access to safe and affordable drinking water by 2030 is one of the ambitious targets under the Sustainable Development Goals. For now, residents here have no option than to rely on this pool of water for their daily needs. Beryl Ernestina Richter's report for JoyNews.
Like that, the news is over. Thank you for staying with us throughout this 1.5 hours. And but do stay tuned in, because Hotline is coming up next. You don't want to miss that. I'm Arbor Kumsin. From me and the rest of the team, have a good night.